Hello again folks, and welcome to Weekend Gunslingers. So as you can see today, we're taking our two favorite pistols, the Glock 17 and the Smith Wesson M&P 9mm. After they've both had roughly 10,000 rounds through them. I didn't keep a shooter's log, but this is going to anecdotally how much they had through them. And we're putting them head to head and see what they're like. We're going to compare them in a few different aspects. And that's what's coming up next on Weekend Gunslingers. Welcome back, folks. So first we'll look at the ergonomics of the firearm. Let's look at the Glock. So the Glock, as you know, 2x4 with stipples on it and a very square, fairly thin slide there. However, it suits certain hands perfectly. I mean, for me it's very comfortable. Other people will absolutely hate the ergos on this gun. It's kind of a Marmite thing, if you know what I mean by that. You're either going to love it or you're either going to hate it. So it's a kind of a touch and go here. The Smith & Wesson M&P, on the other hand, is designed to fit the human hand perfectly. It is incredibly comfortable and yeah, it just feels really great. So in this category, I think the Smith & Wesson gets the point here. Now how about reliability? Reliability wise, I am basing this off our experience with these two handguns. Now, bullet for bullet, they have fired roughly, like I said before, 10,000 rounds through them. Neither of these firearms have had a single failure of any kind whatsoever. So I think in this category, they both get a tick mark. When it comes to durability, let's have a look at what the insides look like. Alright guys, let's look at the broken down handguns, and I mean we're talking again, like I said, around 10,000 rounds each. Let's take a look at the barrels. Let's start with the Glock. I'm going to bring it closer for you, and you can see it looks fairly new. So there's no real serious wear on the barrel. And then if we look at the slide, you'll see there's no excessive wear on that either. All within normal parameters. And now it's time for the M&P. If you look at the M&P's barrel, it's a little bit of wear marks, but nothing too excessive and nothing to be too worried about. Same with the M&P slide there. See a little bit of wear marks, but nothing to be concerned about. Again, within normal parameters. Really reliable on both ends. Next category we're going to look at is accuracy. Guys, the Glock and the M&P are both more accurate than you are, so don't you worry about that. If you can afford the time to practice with them, you're going to be dead on where you want to be. Nothing wrong with accuracy on either of them, so they both get a point on accuracy. With recoil impulse, the Glock 17 tends to be a little bit snappier when you fire it, right? The M&P on the other hand has a more backwards kind of a recoil impulse, which makes it feel a lot softer. So for recoil impulse, the M&P is going to get the point here. Let's look at the factory sights. So for factory sights, I hope you can see this. The M&P has got your normal 3-dot system there. I have changed out the sights on the Glock to a set of Trigicons, as you can see there with the HDs. Reason being, not that there's anything wrong with the Glock factory sights. They're very accurate, they work, but the polymer that they're made of is a bit flimsy. And if you're going to be shooting IPSC like we are, you're going to be pulling it out of a Kydex holster quite a bit, so chances are you're going to damage those. So I opted to go for a more sturdy metal set of sights. Now as you can see on the M&P, they're metal from the get-go, and they're nice and sturdy. So for factory sights, again, M&P gets the point. If you look at accessories available out on the market, I think it's safe to say that the Glock has been around since the 80s. So for this one, the Glock takes the point. Reason being is there's a ton of accessories out there, holsters and all kinds of things that you can get for a Glock, especially the 17 as well. Alright, next up, let's look at rail options. So both the Smith & Wesson has a Picatinny rail there, and also the Glock has the rail option there as well. So in this category, you can put the same kind of stuff on them. I'll give both a point on this one. Takedown speed. Alright, let's see how quick we can take these down. First up, we'll take a look at the Glock 17. Very simple takedown technique. There we go, she's disassembled. Next up, let's take a look at the Smith & Wesson M&P. There you go. There's two ways of taking this gun down though. First one is using the little tool that you'll find in the magwell here if you don't want to pull the trigger. However, I find it a lot faster and a lot easier just to pull the trigger. So that's the method I use. However, there's different ways to do it out there. Alright, so let's take a look here. There we go, disassembled. So when it comes to takedown speed, I think the Glock narrowly edges it out and scores the point there. So next up, controls. Again, the Glock has very minimal controls, very easy to operate, but it does have a bit of a drawback against the Smith & Wesson. The Smith & Wesson has ambidextrous side releases. So in other words, racking it back and holding open the slide is pretty easy for both a left and right-handed shooter. Now, same is not true for the Glock. The Glock only has a slide catch there, and there you go, you don't have one on that side. So for ambidextrous controls, the Smith & Wesson gets the point. The next thing that we're going to be looking at is custom grips. So both of them come out with exchangeable back straps, or in the case of the M&P, palm swells. But I'm going to give this one to the Glock 17. The reason being is, one little small reason, is you can select whether you want a beaver tail or not with the Glock 17 Gen 4. Because you get a beaver tail back strap, if you take it off it looks just like that, standard out of the box. Where you will always have a beaver tail with the M&P. Not that that's a bad thing, but in this case, point goes to the Glock. Combat proven. Now here's a little bit of an unfair advantage that the Glock does have, so it's obviously going to get the point on this one. Again, because it's been around for a long time, it's had an opportunity to prove itself for militaries and law enforcement all around the world. And the M&P just hasn't been around that long to be able to do that. So there you go guys, that's our comparison after about 10,000 rounds each. So if you're thinking of buying one of these, guys, go out to a range, try them, shoot them, whichever one you pick you're going to be happy with, because chances of you outlasting the gun is very, very small. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video and learned something perhaps. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, a comment, or subscribe. Always helps us out to make some more videos for you. See you next time.